Tamar never accused Judah of anything, not in one recorded word, not when he broke his promise to her, not when he sentenced her to death. She handed him 3 objects and asked him a single question, and the man who had ordered her burned pronounced the verdict himself. She hath been more righteous than I. Genesis 38. This is how she did it. Judah went down from his brethren. That is the first sentence of the chapter, and it carries more than it looks. 1 verse earlier, Judah stood at the edge of a pit and proposed that his brothers sell Joseph instead of killing him. Then Genesis stops the story of Joseph completely for 1 chapter and follows Judah instead. He settles near Adullam in shepherd country. He marries the daughter of a Canaanite man named Shua. She bears him 3 sons, Onan, and Shelah. Then verse 6. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. That is how she enters the Bible. Not as someone who acts, but as something someone else does. The verb belongs to Judah. She is taken, given, placed. For years afterward, almost everything that happens to her happens in the passive voice. What a woman in her position actually was matters here, because the chapter assumes you already know. A married woman without children had no standing of her own. She held no land. She could not inherit from her husband. If he died before she bore a son, she did not keep his house. His line simply stopped, and she went back to her father's household, a widow in a home she had already left once, belonging fully to neither. The remedy the chapter assumes is the one Judah names in verse 8. Go in unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. The dead man's brother fathers a child who counts as the dead man's heir. The line continues. The widow keeps her place. The law that puts this in writing appears later in the Bible than the events described here, in Deuteronomy, and comparable customs are attested across the ancient Near East. What we can say is narrower, and it is enough. Genesis 38 treats the obligation as binding, and every person in the chapter behaves as though it is. Genesis gives the first death in a single sentence. Was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. That is the entire account. No detail, and no ambiguity about where the cause sits. It sits with Judah gives the duty to Onan. Onan takes the marriage and refuses its purpose, and the chapter states his reason in its own words. He knew that the seed should not be his. The child would carry his brother's name, so he would not give it. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. Readers have argued over that verse for centuries, and over what exactly it forbids. The chapter's own stated reason is narrower than most of those arguments. He would not raise up seed to his brother. 2 sons dead, 1 left. And Judah says to Tamar, Remain a widow at thy father's house, till Shelah my son be grown. Then the narrator does something quiet and devastating. He tells us what Judah was thinking, in words Judah never said to her face. For he said, lest peradventure he die also as his brethren did. He thinks she is the danger. The text has just told us twice why those men died. Judah has moved the cause off his sons and onto her, silently, without a charge, without a hearing, and without saying it out loud to the only person it condemns. Then he sends her home under a promise he has already decided not to keep, and she goes. Tradition remembers this chapter as the story of a woman who seduced her father-in-law. Hold that for 2 minutes because the chapter answers it, and not with an argument, with verses. Years pass in a single verse. Judah's wife dies. When his mourning is finished, he goes up to Timnath, to his sheep shearers with his friend Hera. And it was told Tamar, she has been watching. The text says so plainly, she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife. The promise is broken, not recently, long enough to be certain. She puts off her widow's garments. She covers herself and wraps herself and sits down in an open place by the way to Timnath. The Hebrew there is Patash Enaim, read by some as a place name, the entrance to Enaim, and by others as the opening of the eyes. Either way, it is a road in daylight on the route a man traveling to Timnath has to take. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot, because she had covered her face. Read that slowly. He thought. The narrator is not describing Tamar. He is describing an assumption forming inside a man's head, and then telling you exactly what it was built on. A covered face. At a roadside. Nothing she said, nothing she did. And he turned unto her, by the way. He crosses the road. He makes the offer. And the narrator adds the line the chapter turns on. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. Her first recorded words in the Bible are a price. What wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come in unto me? He offers a young goat from the flock. She doesn't take it. Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? He asks what pledge. And she names 3 things, thy signet and thy bracelets and thy staff that is in thine hand, not livestock. His seal, the stamp a man pressed into wet clay to close an agreement, as particular to him as a signature. The cord it hung from at his neck, and his staff, carried every day, known on sight by anyone who knew him. She has refused payment and taken identification. 3 objects, not one of which could be explained away later, and all 3 handed over by him on a public road in daylight. And she arose and went away, and laid by her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. Judah keeps his side of it. He sends the young goat by Hira to redeem the pledge, and Hira cannot find her. He asks the men of the place where the woman is. They tell him there was no such woman there. There is something in that exchange most translations flatten. The word the narrator uses at the roadside and the word Hira uses in the village are not the same word. What Hira goes asking for is a different category of woman altogether. Scholars have argued about that distinction for a long time, and it is not settled. But the chapter chose 2 different words, 6 verses apart, and it is worth knowing that it did. Hira comes back empty-handed, and Judah says, "Let her take it to her, lest we be shamed." He would rather lose his seal than be seen looking for the woman holding it. 3 months later, the report reaches him. Tamar thy daughter-in-law hath played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, Bring her forth, and let her be burnt. No hearing, no question put to her, no interval at all. The same act performed by him 3 months earlier on the same road, and nothing in the chapter suggests it crosses his mind. Why burning here? Genesis does not explain. It reports the sentence and moves on. When she was brought forth. Brought. Still passive. Still somebody else's verb. She sends. She does not go to him. She does not name him. She sends a message and the 3 objects with it. By the man whose these are, am I with child. Discern, I pray thee, whose are these, the signet and bracelets and staff. Discern, I pray thee. In Hebrew, 2 words, hakarna. 1 chapter earlier, Judah and his brothers killed a young goat, dipped their brother's coat in its blood, and sent it to their father with those same 2 words. Know now whether it be thy son's coat. The King James translates the phrase 2 different ways in the 2 places, which is why almost nobody has ever heard this. It is the same phrase. The man who sent his father an object and told him to identify it is now handed an object and told to identify it by a woman he had tried to pay with a goat. And Judah acknowledged them and said, She hath been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah my son. Hear what he does not say. He does not say, because I lay with her. He names the crime correctly, and the crime is his broken promise. And he knew her again no more. The text says that, and nothing past it. Tamar speaks 4 times in Genesis 38. What wilt thou give me? Wilt thou give me a pledge? Thy signet, and thy bracelets, and thy staff. And 3 months later, discern whose are these, the signet, and bracelets, and staff. Every recorded word she says is about the price or the pledge. Not one is a plea. Not one is an accusation. She names those 3 objects twice, in the same order, once to acquire them and once to spend them. She never tells Judah what he did. She hands him the evidence and lets him say it, and the only verdict rendered in the chapter is his. The narrator passes none. Genesis reports what she did and offers no comment on it, and silence is not approval. It is silence. What the chapter actually gives us is one man's judgment, spoken against himself in public with the proof in his hands. Then twins. A midwife ties a scarlet thread on the hand that appears first, and the other child breaks out ahead of him. They call him Pharez. Christian readers later found meaning in that scarlet thread. That reading arrived much later, and it is not what Genesis is doing here. Generations on, in a town called Bethlehem, the elders at the gate bless a marriage. They bless it like this: "Let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah." Her name is spoken as a blessing over another woman's wedding. And when Matthew opens the New Testament with a genealogy, the first woman he names is Tamar. Genesis never tells us where she came from. It identifies Judah's wife as a Canaanite. About Tamar, it says nothing at all, and neither should we. The woman those Bethlehem elders were blessing was Ruth. She did her own asking, on a threshing floor, in the dark, and she got her own answer. That episode is on the screen now, and the two belong together. Ruth. Chapter 4, verse 12 is where one of these women's names is spoken over the other's marriage. If this is the kind of thing you want more of, the text itself, held up against what everyone thinks it says, subscribe. There are more names waiting.